This is the iRacers Lounge, featuring the latest iRacing news, driver interviews, race reviews, opinions, discussions, rumors, and more. Now here's Alan Pajari and Mike Ellis.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Alan Pajari. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. With me here is the usual crowd of Mike Ellis and Carlos Fonseca, but we also have Brad Miller, and then we have a couple guests here of Daniel Jansen and Jake Hayes. So welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
All right, Daniel, let's start off with you since Jake had to step away for a minute. When did you start iRacing, Daniel?
I started about 2 years ago. A couple of my friends got me hooked into racing online with, of all things, Formula One 2012 a couple of years ago, and then they kind of disbanded that and started picking up with iRacing.
All right. So what series do you normally run now? Do you run road or do you run oval? What do you run?
I try and keep active with right now at the moment with one road series, one oval series. Kind of a little bit burnt out on the oval thing with doing NIS all year, so I'm trying two road series this year, IMSA and Caddy Cup, just for fun.
Okay. Tell us about the team you're on. I know you're on Black Adder Motorsports. Why don't you tell us about that team?
Yeah, so the guys that I raced with originally with with that F1 game, they shifted over here and basically, I don't know if you want to consider me a founding member or like within the first few months I came over there and have been there ever since. We picked up a lot of international influence. We have a bunch of Aussies on our team, some European-based drivers, just kind of all over the place. And we have a really strong road racing program on there, and they're really active in a bunch of different leagues.
Yeah, I've seen your teammates all over the place and in a bunch of different leagues and stuff. I raced with a few in the Gathering of Tweakers series that was last year, and so I know your team has always done well, always ran well, and a lot of road racing. But what are the other oval racers you have on your team?
Specifically, we have probably about 5 of us that are consistent week in and week out with the NIS at the moment. Ernie Ludwig, Sam Harris, Christian Chandler, and now my mind goes blank. Josh Mertz and myself are pretty much in every Thursday night, and occasionally some Sunday nights if Thursday doesn't go too well. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know I run a lot with Sam and Christian out there. So and I have run a lot with you in the past there too. So yeah, that's a decent oval team. What leagues do you participate in there, Daniel?
I've actually gotten sucked into all things the Australian Endurance Championship. Basically, like most of the leagues run on Saturday, and it's not really a convenient day for me to do much of anything. Sort of a family day. So I kind of just am on call for like the long distance endurance racing. I got sucked into doing a 24-hour race at Spa about a month ago with them, and I might end up doing a race at Monza and with the same series. So I'm interested in the endurance a lot on the road side. So whenever somebody needs like an extra driver for a longer race, I usually volunteer.
All right, Jake, you back yet? All right, Daniel, what type of wheel and pedals do you use?
Just your standard issue G27. So it was about all I could afford, and it's served me very well up to this point.
Do you have triple monitors or a single monitor?
I have a kind of cobbled together rig. I'm actually sitting in it now. It's just a single monitor at the moment, but I did upgrade to a video card that could support it once the budget allows. But it's like literally like a nightstand that I've kind of rigged up to my steering wheel with the monitor, so I can get in a more comfortable sitting position and a gamer chair.
All right, Jake, you back yet? Just quick check-in here. All right, so let's talk about the NIS races since we've last been on, which was Kansas, Talladega, and then one race of Martinsville. So Kansas. Let's start off with you, Daniel. What kind of experience did you have at Kansas a couple of weeks ago?
Not a good one. It was one of those weeks I play hockey, and the league I'm in occasionally plays on Sunday night. So it was a one and done kind of deal for me. If I did well on Thursday, great. If not, oh well. And I kind of got caught out by the tire fall off. I kind of was guessed wrong on tire wear and how much time I would lose by trying to make it one stop as opposed to two stops for last bit of the race.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that tire wear, and I think that's something that we've seen ever since the latest build with the dynamic tracks. Now I'm not sure if it's just dynamic tracks; it might be the new tire that they put on the Gen 6, but there is a lot of tire wear in basically every race we've run. You experienced that?
Absolutely, and the interesting thing about that is just that I'm usually one of the ones that's a lot better on my tires and gas and saving, that sort of thing, and I've just been having a hard time guessing right with strategy. I guess that'd be the best way to put it.
It's changing strategy, because of the wear.
Yeah, and like what like in that Kansas race, the right call was to basically sacrifice and come in for two stops and just be faster the whole time. Whereas like the old Bill, it'd probably been the right call to stay out there and nurse one set of tires to only do one stop.
Right.
Yeah, Brad, how was your experience there at Kansas?
I did pretty good, I think. I welcome the new tire model and the changes they've made, because it really keeps you on your toes, because it seems like when the caution comes out, a lot of us on TeamSpeak are going, pit, don't pit, what do you do, two tires, no. I mean, it's thrown another wrench into the system that makes it a lot more challenging.
Yeah, I actually quite enjoy it myself. Jake, you back yet? All right. Before we move on to Carlos and Mike, I'll just give you my experiences. Thursday night on the fixed, Daniel, I guessed wrong like you. I tried to stay out. I thought for sure there was going to be a caution. There was no caution, and so I really kind of paid for it there when I went in real late. And then, of course, when I come out, there's a caution. So I kind of paid for it. I was in 27th place. I think there was about 13 laps left in the race. And then thank you to the other drivers for the way they drive, predictably on iRacing. There was a couple of cautions within that 13 laps, and they basically just gave me 14 positions. So I finished 13th on Thursday.
That sounds familiar.
Nice recovery.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, hey, thanks very much for crashing, guys. And then on Friday, in the Open, I actually did a different strategy, and because I thought I had a pretty decent car with a nice long run, and so I qualified this time, and I tried to stay up and near the front for most of the race. And Mike, I think you were in that race there with me, and I actually was running up pretty much near the front basically the whole race, and finished third. I had a very good car, and I was in position to win that race, except for a couple of late cautions there.
Awesome.
Kind of hurt that position. But yeah, it was just it was felt good. Yeah, but I think it was a good tire wear on the setup, and but what I kind of found that, you know, how we're all kind of hoping Kansas. We're all kind of hoping with the new dynamic tracks that maybe the lower line will come in. I didn't see it except for on restarts. Anybody else have any opinions on that?
Well, if you dig on that first lap, you certainly could get stuff on the bottom there for the maybe 1 or 2 laps. But after that, you had to get in the high lane or you were toast.
Yeah, but it also seemed like you could do that at least in the spring race too. Like the tires would hold up but you use so much of them trying to go low that they burn off real quick, and it's just not a option after lap 2.
Yeah, there's just too much grip up top, I think, compared to the other 2 lines.
And listening to other drivers during the races, I got the impression a lot of people thought Kansas was broke. And just because of what Carlos said is there wasn't another lane. It was a single lane race pretty much. And we were kind of hoping for more, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we were kind of hoping for more, but it reminded me of the spring races there, actually, where everyone stayed on the high line. Carlos, how'd you do on your races?
I think I only did 1 that week. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know. I was mediocre at best most of the race, which is unusual for me. I don't want to have miler. I usually quick at this place, but that wall met it like 20 times in 10 laps. But I don't know. Drove my way to a 12th place, and I guess this will bring into another topic here. Someone named Michael is here.
Yeah,
wrecks
Mike,
the field.
And
gets me up
Yeah, I was that guy. I can't believe I did that. And, I was actually inspired by Alan, staying out on old tires and winning a race a few weeks ago. And I'm like, I can do this too, and it was a late caution and we were close to the end, and I'm sure that I could pull it off. And I had other drivers stay out with me. I wasn't the only one. But I was the leader. And I got on the gas, and that thing hooked right, and there was nothing I could have done. It was just like, oh my God, what have I done?
How embarrassing, though. You had a lot of angry people.
I've done that before, but never as the leader. I did that at Atlanta, I believe, once, but never as the leader. And it really feels different, I think, as the leader. And I felt really bad about it. They had one more restart after that, after I was wrecked out, and I think the next guy did the same thing as well.
Yes, he did.
It was a bad week for me. I just, and I also got into a situation with another driver where he got into me and I got into him, and words were said, and then private messages were sent, and apologies, were going back and forth. And so it was a tough. I did get a 5th, though, in the Open in one of those starts, though. So.
All right. Jakey Beckett.
Yeah, I was just about to jump in. I was going to say, speaking of late race restart wrecks, one time in Atlanta, it was actually an NIS Open. It was like a 40 or 50 lap run, and caution came out. There was going to be 2 laps to go. Or actually, no, it was going to be just a 1-lap shootout. And top guys all stayed out, and I was only like 9 cars in the lead lap, and I was like 8th. So I just went in, I took tires, and come back on the track, and as soon as we restarted, the whole field piled into each other. The leaders all spun, hit each other. It was crazy. And now that I think of it, it was actually 2 laps. So as soon as I got to the line, the yellow came out, and they were wrecking everywhere. And I also ended up getting 5th in that one, like Mike did in his race.
Yeah, we talked about this before too. You saw Joey Logano spin his tires at Talladega, but he didn't hook it into the wall and destroy the field. I mean, is this broken? Do we need iRacing to fix this?
No. No. I think those guys would do the same thing if they had our skills.
Okay.
I think they just got better skills. And of course it's a real car, and they have much better feel than when it's spinning than of course we do,
That we run out of talent.
Another factor is, of course, they have to worry about tearing up a car that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. When on iRacing you can wreck and, not cost you any money.
Yeah, well, a little embarrassment. That's about it.
Okay, so who on here hasn't done that? Hasn't spun the tires and taken people out?
Well, I spun the tires, but no, nothing else came out of it.
You've never done it.
I did my first time in an A car in a Carb Cup race when I thought starting in first was the way to go.
Right. I think eventually it'll happen to everybody at least once in your iRacing career, but be cautious, take tires, don't stay out on old tires. Learn from my mistake.
Well, hey, going back to Kansas, remember that before you wrecked everyone, people were all mad at me for taking 2 because they thought it was suicide, and I ended up out driving them for 5 laps straight, just pull away from them by like 2 seconds, and then I have 1 wiggle and just makes the car undrivable.
Well, I can tell you from experience when it works and when it doesn't work. Obviously, from in Chicago when I won that NIS race there, I stayed out, but I knew that as soon as the caution flew, that was the race. That was it. That was done. And the caution flew before we got to start finish line. So, but it worked out for me. But I actually eased on the gas because I knew I was, since I was in first place, I didn't have to like mash it or anything like that. So as soon as that pace car went, I eased on the gas. Caution flew out. I won the race. So, but then again, in a league race just a little while ago at Dover, I'm sitting in third, and I'm waiting for the leader to go. Leader goes, I mash the gas, and I drift right up into the car that's in second place. So it happens. It's so quick to happen. But I think, and Mike, sorry to say this because it's not in your defense, but I think being the leader, it's a little bit easier not to spin your tires than it is being second or third.
Yeah, and I blew it, and I was trying so hard, and you know how you get at the end of the race, you're all nervous and shaky, and I knew I had it all on the line right there, and I just was trying too hard.
Yep, unless you win a lot like Jake. All right, Jake, since we missed on a little the bio on you, why don't you give us a little rundown on how long you've been on iRacing, what do you normally run, and what type of equipment you have, and then get into your team.
Well, I've been on iRacing about, I'd say, 2.5 years at this point. I have my own teams called Zero Gravity Racing. We work with Spartan Motorsports. We have a thing called Apex Motorsports Group. We actually got 2 guys in the Pro Series this year, and when I first joined iRacing, I was actually on a laptop, and that actually was I was racing on a laptop for well over my first year, almost into my second year, and then I believe it was last December I upgraded to a Asus G10 PC, which is 200 times better. I mean, never racing on a laptop to anyone watching. It's just nothing compared to a legitimate nice PC. I mean, the frame rates and everything is just way superb. I had to worry about buying tracks and such. I had to ask my friends if I could run it because there was just some tracks, for example, Gateway, when it came out, everyone told me not to buy it because my laptop wouldn't be able to handle it. There's just so many elements I had to run, I think like Class 6 graphics or something, just to race with a solid frame rate.
Yeah, so what kind of like wheels and pedals do you have?
I run with a Driving Force GT. I've been running with that my entire time on iRacing.
All right, yeah, that's something that I just put in the closet. So, do you run with 3 monitors or just 1?
Just 1 single monitor. I don't really have thousands of dollars to buy that type of equipment, but that'd definitely be something I'd look to upgrade to in the future sometime.
Yeah, it's to me that's a game changer right there. Just having 3 monitors. And for people that don't know Jake is a wonderful at setups. I know you. I know there was some seasons back that you were providing truck setups for the Open Series for people on the forums. How did you learn how to do setups, and what made you get into that?
Well, to be honest, one night I was in a road series actually in the Cadillac, the Global Challenge, back when it was still open, and I was just frustrated because the car was just out of control. It was really unstable, and the rear tires were just spinning all over the place. So I just started tinkering around in the garage, and lo and behold, I actually figured it out, and I just read into it and started learning what each adjustment does. And with some practice and a lot of setups built and such, I got pretty decent at it, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say Jake is kind of known out there for really knowing his stuff. And I've been watching Jake race. I think you guys. I've talked about the Rutgers Cat videos, and Jake used to race. It seemed like every race with Kevin O'Keefe, and so I've seen him race for a long time. And so, very good racer. All right, let's talk about Talladega. Let's start off with you, Jake. Did you run Talladega this last week?
I want to say I ran an open. Yes, I did run an open. Looking back at my last 10, and I can't remember. Oh, yes, I do remember how that went. So I was running with my teammates, and we were running up in the front pack. We were getting ready to pit. I can't remember if it was the second pit stop or the first one, but I want to say it was like a lap around lap 100. We went to go down the pits, and it was just us three, so we dove on down, and some dude in the back wanted to jump in with us, and unfortunately hit my teammate in the back, and he was sent to me and just took us all out. So there was also one of my teammates survived, but for the most part, took the whole team out in just one crash.
All right.
Dang.
Doesn't sound good.
That's kind of how the week went for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never know when disaster's going to strike at a track like Talladega.
Yeah, it is a little bit like rolling the dice. Hopefully you can avoid the mess and see where you can end up, or you end up in something. But that's like that in real life too. Brad, why don't you talk about your weekend there at the racetrack in Alabama?
Well, let's see here. The first one I had a 13th, a 21st, a 16th, a 2nd, and 11th. So I was all over the place, and I don't think it had anything to do with my driving. I think it had a lot to do with my position on the track.
Just luck.
Okay.
Racing luck, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was all over the place, and I had a few blown motors. I think the 11th place, the last one, I spent 30 minutes in the penalty box getting a motor put in, and still came out and had a decent finish.
Yeah, because the attrition was so high, huh?
Yeah, people wreck out and they get mad and leave and everything else, and here I am just logging laps slowly.
Yeah, Daniel, how'd your weekend go?
I think Brad was actually in that. I think that race he blew his motor. I think he's the one that came out and helped push me for a good long time there. But yeah, no, I ended up. I was on one and done, and I managed a third, and I had probably one of the scariest wrecks in front of me. Somebody had spun out of four or something, ended up sideways right at the exit to pit road, right on the edge of the tarmac, and everyone just kind of panicked and broke, and everyone was spinning every which way, and I managed to get through that with only a 1X going through the grass and avoiding somebody spinning sideways right in front of me. But
and then third, huh?
Yeah, and then third, I was running for the lead, and just me and the guy gets under me because I was trying to run a little bit of a conservative line to conserve tires, because that actually was a thing at Dega for once, and we both were kind of stubborn, and looking back, it's probably about 50% my fault, 15% his, and he went on the apron in the tri-oval, and we door slammed, both of us being stubborn, and so I took on a little bit more damage. But by that point, it was like we ended up with four of us finishing on the lead lap. So,
wow,
interesting. So, what'd you guys think of the tire wear in the fix set for Talladega?
It was ass, is all I can say. It would have been fine if it was made the car really loose. I don't care about a loose car, but it being extremely tight was just not fun for me.
Yeah, on old tires coming out of two, I'd have to lift almost sometimes to avoid the wall, and everyone would drift up to the wall coming out of two. It was really bad on Monday night in the integrity race, but Alan, it seemed to get better as the week went along, and I'm not sure why.
Interesting. Jake, were you going to say something?
Yes, I can't really comment on the fix as I didn't run a fixed. I ran the one open race, and in my experience, I mean, just like the fix for the most part. I mean, not everyone was plowing. My team was actually kind of loose, but everyone was sleeping out to the wall in the back. It looked like you were running a qualifying line almost.
I loved it.
Yeah. Well, for me with the fixed, I just, I actually wasn't one of those guys that ran hard until I thought I was going to go to the wall. Then I lifted going into each corner. And so I can actually try to keep it down low. But it did seem like when we had a line trying to catch a leader's line, we did run the qualifying line to try to make us faster, and it actually did. So, but Thursday night for the fixed setup, we ran a caution-free race in second split.
Wow.
First time I've ever done that at Talladega. And so but there were for a few wrecks. Now that is something I'm sure everyone noticed this time around, that there could be wrecks, but the caution flags were not flying out. Everyone see that in their races?
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like there were some wrecks the caution should have been out and didn't see it. I noticed that.
So what I'm watching right now is our race we did on Monday in Integrity. You saw everyone just wrecked there going into one, I think, or something like that, and everyone wrecked, no caution. So now the admins actually had to throw one.
And it was cool. Kind of like that last night in Martinsville too. There were several huge wrecks that I did, got through, and there was no caution.
And not necessarily a NIS race, but I was running some C-Fix last week in the trucks, and they'd be just wrecks of the whole field, but we'd keep it. They'd be wrecking on the apron, hitting the inside wall and such, and the Yev would never fly. But there'd be 2 or 3 cars out front just win the race by default.
Yeah, I think they definitely changed something in how they determine what throws a caution or not. I heard something about a car has to be stopped on the track, and there has to be like another car coming within a certain distance of it. I've heard other type of things, but I really couldn't tell heads and tails what would throw a caution, what wouldn't. The only thing I know is that I better keep in it at Talladega, otherwise I might lose something here if I really lift thinking that there's going to be a caution.
It reminds me of Chicagoland there. I was pointing the wrong way on the track and the caution still didn't come out.
Yeah, and then in our open race, I think it was second split again on Friday night. It was kind of nasty in there. That's all I gotta say. There was some real dirty racing, a lot of blocking going on. There was actually an intentional wreck that Cody Dutton did on Cameron Key that ended up taking out one of my teammates, Colton Landis. Just bystander. He was actually right behind me when I missed the wreck and he got hit. And then, I always thought on the back straight or that you couldn't make passes underneath the yellow line. And I got passed several times, and most notorious was Sean Butler. He would go underneath that yellow line to make passes. And, to me, I thought it was very dirty. Dirty race.
That is protestable, I believe. I mean, even though, he doesn't get a black flag, automatically, it is a protestable offense.
Yeah, but you know me, I don't protest.
I have a quick question for you guys about starts at Dega. I had in the race I was in, the guy kept on, I'm not sure if he actually slowed down or just started coasting, but he would continually back up till the back end was basically running all over themselves before we started. I know it's a long gap between when the pace car comes in and when you get the green at the start finish line, but it was some gnarly stuff trying to stay from bumping into people.
Well, I'm not sure how many laps are left, but I know that's a common technique. If there's only a few to go, I mean, it's kind of dirty, but a lot of times the leader will just hope the field will wreck each other before they get to the green, so he doesn't have to race for the win.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on like that in real life with NASCAR too, it seems like.
Yeah, which we'll get to. Even though it isn't on our notes, or Carlos, I do want to talk a little bit about the real life one. But before Mike tells us about Mike, you ran every race, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, now just before you tell us, let me just mention that Tyler Hurd from 2 Degree Motorsports had the 29 car in the top split on Thursday night. I don't know if anybody of you guys saw this, but there was a big wreck that took out half the field, basically, at Talladega. But he had a great race. It came down to him and Joey Isverson right at the end of the race, and he just made that final pass right at the line. How iRacing scored it was that he won by .000. So it was just a ticker of the nose, but congratulations to Tyler for that top split win on Thursday night.
Yeah, I saw the picture of them at the line, and it was like literally by a nose.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, they were dead even at the line.
Yeah, dead even at the line. Yep. But it scored Tyler as the winner, and he was a very happy man. Top split win, so that's the
Congrats,
first for Tyler there.
That's great.
All right, Mike, since you race basically every race, tell us about your weekend in general.
Well, anybody who's run with me knows when it's a restrictor plate, it's my turn to win. And I usually get wins on these weekends, so I was excited coming into Tally. It's just bad luck for me, it seems like, and everyone on my team. I mean, a few people had good runs, but most of us are having what I call 30-minute intermissions. You get caught up in something, guess what? 30 minutes of repairs. You got to get a new engine. And so it seems like all week long we had these 30-minute intermissions with different people on the team. I think I had a 30-minute intermission on every race but one, where I almost won it. I finished third. I was leading on the last lap. We were single file. We come on a lap car coming out of 2, and he doesn't know where to go. He's in the middle trying to go down. I go to the outside. Second place goes to the inside, and I lost.
All right. That lapped car, you know, I've been in that situation. Do you think that he was just in these things where he saw 2 cars behind him go, oh, crap, which way do I go?
I even called it out. I hate it when people do that. They just need to stay high and pay attention. And he was running down on the line, and he just wasn't paying attention. And when I, said something, he started looking, obviously, oh, where do I go? But I think he decided to go the wrong way. He ended up in the middle when we caught him. He was in the dead middle.
Actually, another thing from a C race I did last week. This one was actually an open race. I did a couple of those. We were coming up on a lapper, and I was in the team speak with my teammate, of course, and we were on the bottom, and he was staying low, and we were just discussing, how we were going to get around before we got there. And right at the last second, he moves up and blocks the top for whatever reason. The top goes checking up everywhere, and I thought they had it saved, but out of nowhere, there's this car come inches from hitting me in the right rear, just coming down the track, and it just spooked me in the team speak. I think I yelled something. It just scared me all of a sudden seeing a car just come that close to put me head onto the wall.
Well, the thing with the blown engines and the 30-minute intermission, it was so bad during the Talladega week. My wife actually noticed that I was coming out of my office before the race was over, and oh, what happened? You wrecked out again? Yep.
I finished 9th and 6th, and I figured that's it for me with Talladega. I got lucky twice, and that's it for me.
Well, I didn't even run that race. I decided, screw this. I'm not dealing with 500 miles of this.
Yeah, and I think teammate Jose Pabon also had a lot of those 30-minute intermissions for the engine changes as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the real race and the last part of it. What did you guys think of the last part of the Talladega race?
Cue the circus music.
Well, looked to me like, Harvick knew what position he was in. He was pretty much willing to do whatever it took to make sure he advanced. I think it's really just a product of the chase system that makes people do stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know what? And I at first I wanted to blame Harvick that, he did this on purpose. And then I was thinking about it. I've been in this position. It's the last lap, of the race. We're going green. These guys are going to eat me up. I have old tires. If I just get, going, I can maybe get to the outside lane. It's just one of those deals. I think it's just a racing deal. I don't think he really meant to do it.
Well, actually, for Harvick, I don't think he can go more than about 30 miles an hour at the time. So I think it's a little bit different story from than iRacing, but
Yeah.
Daniel,
I think he knew what he was doing. I think he played it well enough that it's not provable. Like there isn't any blatant wheel swerve or anything like that. But I think he knew exactly where to place his car to try and create a little bit of mayhem, and it turned out just better than he could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, it's not your arms are itching, right? You know.
Yeah. See, to me, I agree with Jake. It's the product of the chase. You guys remember what Ryan Newman did to Kyle Larson last year at Phoenix to get into the
nobody
the final
blinked.
race.
Nobody had an outcry over that.
Well, he didn't wreck 30 people.
Well, but basically what
Same
happened
intentions,
was,
right?
and another thing too is that Harvick never had a lap where it was real slow, so NASCAR couldn't say you're too slow to be on the track and black flag him. And so there was wasn't those type of situations either. It was at a start. A guy tried to go around him. It is the fact is that Trevor Bayne should have knew from the last restart. And be honest with you, they've been talking on TV how his engine was out. Someone should have warned him that this guy doesn't have anything. Avoid the crap out of him.
But he can only pass to the right. So
yeah, no, but Trevor Bayne wasn't running for anything at that time either.
I remember actually on the restart before, I believe he was up out of line, and he just got lucky enough that the yellow came out immediately, so he was able to stay somewhat decent position, and then of course the events following happened.
Yep.
Now, can we talk about that first attempt? Well, I guess it was a non-attempt, but you know what? When that happened, I'm like, hey, this has happened in iRacing, hasn't it? It's just like when we get the green, the yellow comes out immediately. We actually all lose a lap. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys.
There's no waiver rounds there. Yeah, because when it happens in iRacing, about half the field has to take waiver rounds.
Right. It's a little bit different, but I'm like, yep.
At least they don't have that glitch.
But do you agree with the NASCAR interpretation that it wasn't not an attempt because they did not pass the start-finish line?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know for sure. I heard it might be in the rule book. I don't know that for sure, but I just think maybe if it isn't in the rule book, they just probably wanted to get a more exciting finish. I mean, I said it beforehand. We were in TeamSpeak talking about the race. I said, watch, we're not even going to get to the line before they wreck, and sure enough, that's what happened.
Now, wait a minute. If they would have changed the rule and there were 3 attempts like normal, I guarantee you that would have been counted as the first attempt, and they would have moved right along to the second attempt.
Well, I think part of it is the speed, because they're trying to avoid having another situation like they did at Daytona in July. And I think that, like, if you don't make it to the line, the cars haven't built up any speed at that point to pose really any sort of hazard. And probably the logic is if you let them go beyond that, and it's an incident after that, then yeah, the attempt should count. But otherwise, yeah, if there's wreck and mayhem right before the line, send them around one more time and try and not end it that way.
I think they screwed up altogether.
It was a whole cluster the whole weekend, yeah.
I think they never should have thrown the caution the first time. They said they threw the caution the second time because cars had hard impact.
Oh, yeah, tons of cars wrecked.
On the first attempt, or non-attempt, whatever you want to call it, nobody really hit anything. 2 cars spun down into the grass. They should have let them roll. They didn't.
I was thinking the same thing.
And they didn't give them enough time to see if, those cars could get turned around and get out of the way. Me, myself, I'm kind of glad they did because I'm a Harvick fan, but, I think they really screwed it up.
Are you still a Harvick fan after this week?
I'm a Harvick fan and still a Harvick fan.
Yep, I am.
I remember a couple years ago, there was actually a race at Charlotte. I can't remember. I think it was Jeff Burton spun all the way out on the apron, and he didn't throw the yellow, but I just don't understand why at Talladega, when there's 2 cars in the grass and there's not in the way, they're fine. I don't see why you wouldn't just let them race.
Oh, everything's just really inconsistent with them.
Yeah, I agree it's inconsistent, and I'll tell you the reason, Mike, why I'm still a Harvick fan is because he did what he needed to do to move on.
Yeah,
He got
blame
away
the
with it,
chase.
too.
Yep, and apparently it was within the rules.
Yeah.
So,
There's no rule that says you can't really wreck somebody, is there?
as long as you don't talk about it ahead of time.
Boys have at it, right?
Go in the interview to start bragging about how you just took him out to stay in the chase.
What happened to Boyer a couple years ago?
Well, that was a deliberate yellow. That wasn't.
Yeah,
just
but
an
look at
accident.
Newman at Phoenix. Newman
Oh,
and
yeah,
Larson thing. I mean, Newman didn't mince words after that. He was pretty plain as day what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said it pretty far out there. If Larson was further into his career, he would understand what he needed to do there.
Yeah, you know what? Nobody said nothing. Nobody, not the fans, not the media, not NASCAR. Nobody said nothing.
Well, Larson after that race, he said, "I understand what he did."
Right, he supported it.
Yeah.
No, that's what we get with this product that's coming out now with this chase format being all, well, drama.
Well,
Acts
that's
of
why
desperation.
I said cue the circus music.
Yeah, I enjoy it though. So I like
I
the
do
chase
too.
better than the reason why all this stuff started, because you guys remember when Kenseth won. I don't know what year it was, but basically you had that thing. Yeah, basically you had that thing sewn up even before the last 10 races, and so then the attendance dropped and TV viewership dropped, so they had to do something, and so I'm glad they did something. Now I didn't really care for that 10 race chase that they had before, so I like this stuff better where it actually rewards wins, so I like that type of stuff a lot better. So I don't know, I find it more exciting than the old ways.
No, it just sucks.
To me, it's kind of like it's kind of like something that is so like fashion, like something that is so backwards and god awful. It's kind of cool. Like that's kind of how I view the chase. Like it's so wonky and retarded that it's kind of fun to watch.
I think it definitely has its flaws, but it puts out a pretty good product. So for the most part, I won't complain. There's some incidents like the one that happened this weekend that are questionable, that happened probably just because the chase system, but it puts out a good product for the most part.
Now, was this situation any different than what Glenn Boyer did at Richmond in 2013?
Yeah, because they were real blatant about it.
Yeah, they talked about it on the radio channel before he did it.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, it was very blatant.
And it was a non-competing driver helping out a teammate get into the chase. It was actually team.
Yeah, telling Vickers
related.
to pit, and yeah,
Right.
and
Start
our
with some
arms
30 cars
itching,
wrecking.
and
I think there was something with the front row motorsports cars too. With I think it was Penske. I
yeah,
had to
we'll
let
give you
somebody
good
go.
cars if you'd help us out, or
Wasn't there this Hendrick incident back in the day where they, I don't know, hired extra drivers just to take up spots?
They'd put someone in their fifth car and get them to start and park, so their guy trying to get the championship would not have to worry about him.
Interesting.
I mean, it's not in the rule book. Why
it
not?
wouldn't have to race somebody else. Yeah.
Actually, it wouldn't start and park. It was just in case, let's say Jeff Gordon wrecked, that guy in the other car could park it, so he wouldn't be credited with one less point or whatever. Now it would be one less point. Back then it would be probably 15, I think it was, per position.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, let's move on. Mike, you want to talk a little bit about the NIS Open points?
Well, I was real hopeful a few weeks ago, but man, I've had a rough patch through October, and I'm down to 11th in Division 2, and not doing so well in overall as well. I think I'm 23rd, but Chuck Sweeting looks like he's got it wrapped up. He's got a 1,000-point lead over second, so congrats
who's
to
the top
Chuck.
5?
Chuck Sweeting, Travis Schaefer, Ryan Michael Luza in 3rd, Dylan C. Jones 4th, and James Fox in 5th.
Oh, good group. So that looks pretty good. Also, who's interested in the Road to Pro stuff? Anybody?
Trigan.
Intriguing. All right. I think last time on the show we mentioned how I think the consensus was they really shouldn't have it be they open in Season 1, Season 2 because they run every 2 hours, and it really should be a little bit more limiting than that. Is that correct? Is that what we came down to consensus last time, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes how it is, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, I heard a rumor, and I call it heard it from a guy who heard it from a guy who heard it from a guy, that iRacing is making a decision to make their road for pro for oval, make it kind of like the Blanc Plain Endurance Series. So it'd be a special series, limited races in season 4 of next year. So that will not be season 1, season 2 of next year, taking the top 10. It'd be top 20 in season 4 of next year of a Road to Pro series.
So we just keep the existing population of pros longer?
Well, that's kind of normal anyways, because they'll be running their pro series, and there'll be people that would be able to qualify in season 1, season 2 for the next pro series, which wouldn't happen until 2017 anyways. So this would just make the pro series a little bit closer. But again, this is just a rumor I heard. It's not confirmed. I'm waiting for a confirmation from iRacing on it.
We'll see.
But yeah, we'll see on that. I know that more than one person has heard this rumor. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But it's very well possible that it could be more like how they're doing the Blanc Plain Endurance Series, where they're saying, you know, guys, declare yourself and run this series, and we'll take the top 20. So that's how it might be.
Well, I mean, as of right now, this is only a rumor. I know a little bit about this myself, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they obviously hadn't released it to the public, so nothing's official. So if this ends up taking place, definitely going to be much harder to qualify for the Peak Series. That's for sure. And we'll just have to wait and see how everything plays out.
Yep. Be, I think, a lot more interesting. I know a lot of people are getting ready for season 1, season 2, and it would be a change on them, just like it was last year. People getting ready for the NIS Open, and they changed to season 1 and season 2. So
yeah, so change it every year. Why not?
Well, I think they had to come up with something better. So I mean, NIS Open was good, but I still like the idea of a separate series. Declare yourself, run that separate series, have it limited. I do think that's good, and maybe this might be the way they go. And if they do change it, I mean, if something isn't good now, change it. So I'm okay with them changing it, because I don't like the way it is now, even though I'm not running for pro.
It's a curveball for sure, but I think no matter what you do, some people are going to prefer a different way. So we'll just have to wait and see if they end up enforcing this and how that plays out, and then we'll all really know what we think about it.
Yep, exactly. All right, I'm going to give a little promotion here to Joshua Justice's Twitch channel, which is called Vigilante_Justice. I don't know if you guys know, but Joshua Justice posts a lot in the forums, and he's basically what Mikey run with a lot with.
Yeah,
him.
he's in my split all the time.
Yeah, he basically runs NIS Opens, and I just gotta tell you, Josh kind of has a reputation with me as someone who's very reckless, and he doesn't have a lift policy, let's just say that. But he has this Twitch channel out there, and I encourage everyone that listens to this to go out there and check out his Twitch channel. To me, I found it be very comical. Even though Josh is not intending it to be comical, it is extremely comical to me.
Yeah, you might see me get punted.
Well, it's not only how he drives, but it's also you just gotta watch it. That's all I'm gonna say. You just gotta watch it. But I will say one thing about Josh there. The man can type. Oh man, can he type? You can hear him typing. He's just whipping away at that keyboard.
While he's racing.
Yeah, well, not necessarily while he's. Well, I'll tell you the funniest thing I saw him do. It was a Kansas Open race on that Wednesday night of Kansas. And apparently his chat's on his phone. And so he looks down at his phone to read his chat during caution. And while he's doing it, he runs into the wall.
Speaking of hitting the wall under yellow, a couple weeks ago, I was racing the A Open, and it was actually Shane Miller. It might have been Shane Miller, I believe it was. And all of a sudden, he just goes down and hits the inside wall, and the motor just explodes. He's smoking out the back, and I'm just like, what happened, Shane? He says, oh, I was trying to open a beer and just happened to hit the inside wall.
Yep. So, it's another one of those things that goes to show you, this is not real life, folks.
That Joshua Justice, he's third in Division 3 right now.
Yeah.
I'm fifth.
Yeah, well, you got to watch out for Joshua Justice there. He will wreck a few people. Yeah,
Yes.
He finds himself in situations a lot, but to me, it was very unintentional comedy. It's very funny, and something to watch. Speaking of the NIS Open, who ran Martinsville last night?
I got a fifth.
Yeah, I got like a 25th.
All right. Was there a lot of cautions?
Yeah, thank God, because I was bad on the long runs. The short runs were good for me, and yeah, it was pretty much short runs. And the usual stuff at Martinsville, people not catching up to the pace car, which you can't get any repairs. I hate that. But,
well, you'll see that at Martinsville no matter what.
oh, it's
no
horrible. I mean, sometimes you can't even get 4 tires without getting lapped.
That's the reason why I always quit on the second time around if I'm not real close to the pace car.
But our first, from the drop of the green flag, we went 40.
That was the longest run all night, too.
42 or 43 laps. And then I got hit in the ass end and was the first caution. But from there on, it was a lot of cautions.
I didn't run personally, but I can comment on my teammates tonight just looking at this result here. Looks like Jacob Harbert's got third, and had Dylan Jones got 13th, but he was disqualified. I don't know how that works. He didn't get disqualified from incident, so I'm not sure what happened there.
Not from incidents, huh? Maybe he
only
ignored
has
a
6.
black flag.
I guess he was smoking or something, decided to keep on trucking.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I noticed, that there was, matter of fact, the Mike split, there was a bunch of guys that got disqualified with the incident points, and I would figure that after you hit like 12, you might take it easy, but some of these guys just don't. So
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, you gotta get them all. But funny, because our integrity race, we had like, Mike, maybe you might remember better, or Carlos, we had like 2 cautions the whole race.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
we did. What was the last run there? Like 120 laps or no?
It was basically a field run where I was wondering if I was going to run out of gas. So that's a lot. But the tires were obviously shot way before that. But yeah, it's just you could just see the difference on the way some of this official racing's going at something that I consider not to be that difficult of a track, which is Martinsville, even though you're in close quarters and everything. But and the people really are aggressive there.
Yeah, I think there was a few bad apples in my race, as usual, that were causing most of the issues, though.
Yep, and if you happen to watch Joshua Justice stream, you could see, even though he is normally a bad apple, this time he was a victim of one who wrecked him or got into him a couple times. But that guy that got into him was disqualified for incident points. But yeah, it's just kind of messy. So I'm actually racing tonight and tomorrow night, and it's going to be interesting what I see here. I don't even know what to do.
I think
don't start on pit road. That's what we learned last night.
I think part of the issue is that it comes from like when you first start racing on iRacing and it's your first really sim experience, you think that the key to speed is being able to outbrake the other guy, and this is just the one track that punishes you and the other guy again and again and again for thinking that.
Yeah, and plus if you come in there hard and you brake hard, you're wearing out that right front.
I was actually running like I said, didn't run NIS, but I did do an A Open Tuesday night, And the whole field, almost the whole field, I'd say, pitted for tires. We went so long in gas. And just after I pitted, about 10 laps later, I caught the leader. I passed him. Right away after I passed him, the caution came out, and I was only 1 lap down and sit at 2, and that saved my race. And I went on to get fourth place.
Very good. All right, let's move on. Mike, I think you wanted to mention a little bit about some of the statistics for our podcast here. So
yeah, we've been around for a while now, and I wanted to I ran some reports on some of the software we have, but I thought it was really interesting how many international viewers or listeners we have. 32 different countries have listened to our podcast, with a total download of 3,656 as of Monday. So thanks to all our international listeners. I just wanted to recognize you.
Yeah, and thank you guys. And yeah, a lot of the listeners do come from USA, which is normal since we are mostly oval racers and we mostly talk about the NIS. And so, but it is nice to see that some of the guys from other countries are listening.
And all around, the country list of 32 is quite long, and as you read through it, it's man, that's a lot.
Yep. You want to talk about Nimcross jumping into a forum when these guys are trying to decide their IndyCar schedule?
Well, President Tony Gardner was trying to get the forums together on their schedules, so he can get input from the community. And the IndyCar community, as usual, got out of control with the schedule discussion, and a lot of people were disrespecting each other. And Nim actually posted in their forum and said, "Look, you guys stop, or you're all going to be banned." And he pretty much laid down the law. Yeah,
and it's funny because the only thing they're doing is just trying to figure out a schedule. Who cares? I'd say the first person that comes up with the schedule, yeah, that looks good. Let's move on. So
our community is a little bit rowdy, I'd say.
Yeah, it is very rowdy. But speaking of Nim there, I was listening to another podcast, which I'm sure many of you heard of, which is iRacing Today radio show with Trevor Cameron and Chad Dalton. And Trevor was talking about how Nim was watching one of his streams. And what happened was that Nim messaged him and said, "I'm going to file a protest against the guy who was very nasty in iRacing chat during one of his races." And he goes, "I'm going to file a protest in your name." And so, and I guess that actually happened because Trevor got the email saying that they received the protest and everything else like that. So, so I thought it was kind of interesting on how Nimcross watched someone stream and filed a protest, even though he did it in Trevor's name, filed a protest against one of the people, even though Trevor went to never file that protest. So, a lot of people stream out there. A lot of people record videos. You never know who's going to watch. You never know what's going to happen. So here's a guy that probably got his iRacing chat taken away because of Nim basically just watching a stream. And so I kind of thought that was interesting. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to get the opinions from everyone here. What do you think of the protest system? Do you use it? And do you think it works?
Yeah, it works. I've used it in the past. I don't think I've used it recently. But there's times, like if somebody wrecks the entire field on purpose, like at Talladega, they pull up on the turn one and they park it sideways on the banking and the field comes along, guess what? I will protest that. And I have.
Well, speaking of Nim watching streams, actually a while back I remember there's someone I know who was streaming and suddenly some guy came in the chat, said, "I'm Nim Cross, how you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't believe you. There's no way. This isn't Nim." And then sure enough, then Nim's like, "Check your forum," or something like that. And he banned him from the forums. But going into the protest, I think it definitely works. From time to time, I'd lose my temper and I end up getting myself in a little trouble. And it just shows you, not to do things you're not supposed to. And I've learned to, I've gotten better about, not doing just not, controlling my anger and not doing things I would regret later on.
Yeah, honestly, I think it works for the most part. It's rough for people who are looking for an immediate validation of this guy did something wrong. I protested, and he's still racing me next week. And I think that's where you see all the complaining about the protest system. But like for what they do, I mean, I've actually been in last year at a Pocono race. Nim actually came in and removed a guy. I think after he'd reviewed the protest or whatever, because he was driving rough, but he hadn't done anything protestable in the race, and basically said, yeah, he's being suspended starting right now in the middle of the race.
I think I heard that last year. I think I remember that because I don't think it was in my split, but I think I heard someone mention that Nim just went into so-and-so's race and removed someone because of an incident of the week prior.
It was kind of like the hand of God coming in and plucking somebody right from my race.
I'm glad that he's not stuck in the red tape of everything that, you got to submit a replay and this and that. It doesn't matter where he gets the information. If he has the information, he's going to act on it.
I remember one time, I wasn't a part of this, but I remember hearing about it. There was a bunch of top split guys, and they decided to create second accounts, and they all running a rookie race, kind of just messing around, and Nim heard about it. He came in, and there was 7 or 8 guys that got booted at the same time from the race as it was going on.
Wow. No, but the other thing is, I will actually if I have a video or if I know somebody else ran in the race and there's some abusive chat going on, I'll find the part of their video and actually link that in my protest to NIM.
Yeah, I have known several people who've gotten their chats taken away from them and stuff, and knowing them, I totally agree on the reason why they got their chats taken away. But I do believe the protest system does work. I would not want Nim's job because of all the people that just because they got wrecked in the race, he has to look over some protest. This person wrecked me. Well, you know what? Maybe they're just not that good. Or maybe, it's a racing deal or whatever. I can't imagine all the stuff he has to look at from that things. But something that's blatantly intentional, people that totally disrespect other people within the game, people that do stuff like park on the, in the middle of the track, people that go back onto the track to just cause a caution so they don't lose a lap, that type of stuff. I definitely have seen the protest system work for there, but I just find it interesting on what people protest.
Yeah, there's just 2 different types of people when it comes to protest, in my opinion. There's people like me who it's very rare to see me file a protest, and there's some guys who just react and they get tapped in the left rear and they're just screaming protest and stuff over the radio.
Yep. I think almost every race you hear someone, I'm going to protest you. What for? I don't know. I've never protested and I've never been protested. I guess it's that those days where I get protested probably will end sometime, but I guess I've been lucky enough not to be protested. All right, let's move on to the Blanc Plain Endurance Series where we ran Brands Hatch last Saturday. Carlos, I know you ran. How'd you do?
Wait, a what?
Brands Hatch, Blanc Plain Endurance Series.
I guess okay. It wasn't the greatest run. Let's see. Started 30th. Thought I had a good qualifying lap, but nope. I worked my way up to 20th, and the first, 7 laps, touched a piece of grass and spun the thing and somehow didn't get clobbered. So I had to make all that up throughout the entire race, and we had a decent run. I think we got, 13th, I think, 12th, I don't know.
It always makes me chuckle when I'm in a race, and I've been running the back the whole time, and the spotter comes over, I get into the top 20, and the spotter just comes over and just says, "You're in the top 20," like I just took the lead.
Yeah. 28th to 20th. Yay.
Yeah, talk about that again. I tried again on Sunday and qualified 7th that time somehow. I don't know why. I guess the weather played in my favor, but did the same thing. Piece of grass spun the car, and this time I got clobbered by 3 people and no damage. And I spin the car on my own. Barely touch a wall. A guardrail, actually. Barely touch it. 8 minutes required.
Yeah, I wasn't so lucky. I started the car off for us on lap 5. There was a couple cars ahead of me, making that left-hander,
Oh,
which is the second to last turn. He went into the grass and the wall, obviously gunned it coming out of the grass, and as we all well know, what happens with tires on grass? They will make you spin. So he basically shot across the road again as I'm trying to get by. I did not make it. So I don't know, for some reason, for some odd reason, maybe because I enjoy Brands Hatch a lot. It's probably either my favorite road course or one of my favorite road courses. I was kind of ticked, and when I got back on the track, I drove like a dick. I just gotta say it. I drove like a jerk out there, and when I came up on that guy again, I doored him. It was a 0x door, but I doored him. I was not happy with that situation at all.
Was that the one who wrecked you by just coming back across the track?
Yeah, yep. That was the same guy, and so yeah, when I caught him, I doored him. I don't know. It's just I don't know what happens either. Our I ratings aren't that good where it's at 1800, but I thought it was good enough to not be in the lowest split for this thing. But we're in the lowest split, so we're in here with guys that might be 700 I rating.
We were one split above you, I think. That's where we were running. We were expecting you to be in our split, but you weren't.
Yeah, we were expecting you, but you weren't. So it was, I don't know, it was disappointing. So anybody run the Bathurst 1000 besides myself? All right. So me and Jay Heisman out there took out to the V8 supercar out there at Mount Panorama and ran the Bathurst 1000, which is 161 laps. We didn't do too bad. I feel bad. I was the first one to actually hit the wall on the car. But I tell you one thing, I was watching a little bit of Top Split on the Friday night, which was a bunch of Australians racing that thing. Man, those Top Split guys are good. Whipping around that car, around that mountain, next to those walls and stuff like that. We were driving, well, for example, they were whipping around there probably about 106s, 107s. And, 206s, 207s, and we were feeling pretty good when we were hitting, 215s. So,
wow, I've raced the V8 Supercar series. I was up around 2 or 3 in the morning. I just decided to hop in an Aussie split. I did this a couple seasons, actually, numerous different seasons, and I'll just be driving the supercar as hard as I can. I'll be 3 or 4 seconds off those Australians. They just have that stuff down. I don't know how they do it.
Wow.
Well, it's like it's their NASCAR. That's their series. That's what they do.
Right.
And so I can understand the reason why they're into it. And then especially Bathurst, and so that's their national race right there, the Bathurst 1000. So, but they were just real good. And anyway, it was very much fun. Both Jay and I were kind of saying maybe we should run this series over the winter. So it was actually kind of fun.
Hell, I would have ran that race, but I didn't even know it was that day, and I didn't know it was only one attempt at it. So I missed it, and I had to watch your video to see what I missed.
Somebody actually messaged me on Facebook after the race started, said, "Oh, you aren't with driving the Bathurst 1000 by any chance, are you?" And I said, "No, I didn't even know what was going on."
Yeah, it happened on. They added one. They had that Saturday race, and then they added one on Friday, near the last minute for a better time for the Australians. So there was 2 of them, but yeah, we ran the Saturday race, and it was fun to race with Jay. My first time racing with Jay there, and so that was pretty good. All right, Mike, why don't you mention some of the last things you want to mention here before we get to the final thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple things before we wrap up. New base content for all members. If you haven't seen that, you might have some new cars and tracks that you didn't have before, all for free. So check that out.
With a couple new carb type series for those things too.
Yeah, I've actually run a couple of those. They're pretty fun. The forums, they're doing a general purge on the general forums of all topics that are older than 2 years old. So if you have stuff out there And you don't want to lose. You better get to it because they're going to wipe it out.
November 2nd, right?
Yep, that's very soon. There's a couple bugs out there. One of them is your track is really dark and you can't see it. That means you need an updated driver from AMD. The Nürburgring is not going to be out until the December build. Tony Gardner has posted. And that's pretty much it.
All right, so let's get to some final thoughts. Daniel, is there anything that you want to mention before we end the show?
Not really. Just good luck at Martinsville and try to keep people from hitting you in the back end.
All right. Jake, any final thoughts?
Nothing really much, but on the note of Martinsville, I'm not sure about any of you guys, but I'm not even sure about myself, honestly, but I may or may not run this NIS in a little bit, so good luck to you guys if you do it, and if I do it, let's just hope I don't get hit in the rear like Daniel said.
All right. Brad.
Good luck in your NIS races, open door fixed.
All right. Carlos, you got anything?
Actually, for the first time in weeks, no, I don't.
All right. Mike.
I have a statement, basically, that I put together based on the rough week I had at Kansas and Talladega. But, part of being involved in racing motorsport is that angst you feel when something goes wrong. You make that crazy call, it doesn't work out, it's the worst. But compounding the problems when you get those other drivers involved, too. Racing is really a range of emotions. It's not always just about winning, but how do you feel when you lose? It's the highs and the lows and everything in between. I'm glad to be involved in this thing we call racing.
All right, Mike. I just got a couple things. One is that had an opportunity to watch a league that Tyler Hudson put together called TDH Short Track Series. I don't know what it is for someone like Tyler. You could just post something on Facebook saying, hey, I'm starting a series, sign up. And he gets a lot of the top drivers in there, and he had like 50 in 2 days or whatever, a ridiculous amount that he had signed up for this thing. But it's super late models and short tracks, and the first race, Ray Afala won. It was a great race. It was fun to watch. So I'm actually looking forward to what he does with this series coming up. It's a heck of a series. The other thing I just want to mention is that there's several ways to get a hold of us. You can do it through Twitter, Facebook, our YouTube channel, or Twitch. I guess you could just watch our Twitch channel or our website, iRacers Lounge. Or you can just private message myself or Mike Ellis or Carlos. But we're always looking for topics, ideas. If you guys are interested in being on a show like Daniel and Jake here, just let us know. And also, I will be looking for more streams and that type of stuff. I don't mind promoting streams and what other people are doing for the recordings, either on YouTube or Twitch or anything like that. So if anybody wants to send me their link out there, I'll check it out. See, and kind of give me a little bio of what you do too, and then I might mention it on the show here, and a little promo for you guys. So, but anyway, that's it. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast. Make sure to go subscribe to us on YouTube, follow on Twitter and Facebook, and SoundCloud. See you